Hi, I'm Comprehensive Frog Raydell, and I'm a Plague main. This video will be one of the 4 in a playlist about our add-ons, and this video involves a total add-on breakdown of what they do, what you can do, and what synergies they may have. So coming up is one of Plague's ultra rares, Black Incense. And what this does is anytime a survivor vomits, their aura is revealed to you for 3 seconds. And the math behind this is straightforward. A survivor will vomit in intervals when they are above 50% infection. The interval is at a minimum 5 seconds with a maximum of 15. Any point in between they can vomit. And there is no minimum or maximum range to this aura reveal. For example, like barbecue and chili, when a survivor is hooked, 40 meters away you will see auras, but anything in that range you won't. So, with Black Incense, there's none of that. There's no, oh, you have to be X amount of range before you see auras. You see them all the time. As long as they're vomiting, with some stipulations we'll get into later. So how you use this add-on is also straightforward. This takes the guesswork out of playing killer, knowing exactly where a survivor is rather than guessing. You of course still have to make the decision in order to move forward, but you don't have to guesstimate where a survivor is, where they are, what they're doing. You can probably see exactly what they're doing. It is of course not an I win button. You still have to make the decisions necessary. So as we said earlier, there are a couple of stipulations with this add-on, such as the survivor perks Boon Shadow Step, Distortion, Off the Record. These perks and a few more will counter Black Incense. Black Incense does not work as long as those are active. But as a synergy with Shadow Step, funny to say it, right? A survivor perks works in your favor. If they do a boon at some point in the match, and all survivors are infected and they're puking, but you don't see their auras, they're most likely in the boon, Shadow Step. In that little radius, you might be able to triangulate not only where the boon is, but maybe where a survivor is. Of course, there might be other perks in play, such as Distortion, Off the Record, where you wouldn't see their aura anyway, but still, just as an example, those are perks that counter Black Incense. There is a killer synergy, however, and that is Lethal Pursuer. The second clause of anytime a survivor's aura is revealed to you, the duration is increased by 2 seconds, bringing the total from 3 to 5 seconds when they vomit. So all in all, Black Incense is an extremely powerful add-on. However, you still need to make the decisions. It is not playing the game for you. It is not auto-regressing gens or increasing your lethality. It just has a lot of potential to. And as we will get into later with the other add-ons, being as efficient as possible comes down to you, and add-ons will supplement that. But don't use them as a crutch, because when the crutch is taken away, you most likely will fall down. A great add-on to add on to your lethality. So coming up next, we have Iridescent Seal, the other ultra rare add-on Plague has available. Anytime a generator completes, you will gain Corrupt Purge. However, Corrupt Purge by any means, whether it's through this add-on or you pick up a corrupt pool, is reduced by 20 seconds. The total duration being 60 seconds will now be 40. And what this truly means is you will get up to 200 seconds of free Corrupt Purge. 240 with your 1 corrupt pool, granted they don't cleanse at any point in the match. 200 free seconds from just generators completing is really handy. And how you would use this is by exerting pressure anytime you feel pressure. It is a counterbalance from the survivors doing their objective, allowing you to be more lethal. This is a lethality add-on. You still have to be lethal with it. You will still have to aim. You have to be in a good position to use this add-on. There are perk synergies with Iridescent Seal, such as Deadlock. When a generator finishes, the next highest percentage generator will be blocked for 30 seconds. You will be able to see this gen's aura. And this synergizes with Iridescent Seal by stopping the chance 2 gens pop at the same time. It can still somewhat happen, very rare, but Deadlock eliminates the chance that much more. And 2 gens popping at the same time will not give you 80 seconds of Corrupt Purge. It will only be 40 seconds, just refreshed. You are also able to use Deadlock to your advantage. Chances are the survivors will be waiting at the gen, waiting for it to become unblocked. You can either go over there to stop them or let them do that gen after it's blocked and be like, okay, well, I know that gen was at 90% because I was just there. Deadlock just ended. I should get my power in X amount of time. Extreme mental math, but that can be extremely beneficial. Another synergy is Discordance. So when 2 survivors hop on a gen together, you will gain a loud noise notification and the gen's aura will be yellow. And this is a great information tool just as a baseline, but this can help you with the mental math note as well, where it's like, okay, 2 survivors are on a gen. If they stay on it in X amount of time, I should get my power. And lastly, another synergy is Tinkerer. Whenever a generator reaches 70% progress, you will gain a notification for that gen and undetectable. So this will help you know when you'll get your Iridescent Seal value to a point. There might be a chance where a skilled survivor knows you have Iridescent Seal because they've seen you get it, and they don't do that gen. They wait. They wait for the perfect opportunity to do that gen. And there are perfect opportunities, such as when you're carrying somebody to a hook, getting your Iridescent Seal is a little bit unfortunate, but regardless. Tinkerer will help you know when you'll get the add-on, when you'll get your Corrupt Purge, when you can be lethal, versus, okay, well, nothing's really going on. Oh, Tinkerer activation, let me go over there. The possibilities of Tinkerer are quite endless. There's a lot of situations for this perk. But all in all, Iridescent Seal is an extremely lethal add-on. You will still have to aim. You will still have to be the killer. As in, you still have to make the decisions as efficiently as possible. Iridescent Seal just bumps you up a little bit by making you more lethal. And that's nice. There will be times, if you run this add-on frequently, you will notice a lot of times you may not get value out of one gen pop. Because of a situation like I said before, where you're carrying somebody to a hook, or you just downed a survivor. You now have to make the decision to just hook them or try and scramble and find another. So coming up, we have Devotee's Amulet. One of the very rare add-ons Plague has available. And what this does is it will increase your Corrupt Purge duration by 20 seconds, bringing the total from 60 to 80 seconds. And how to use this efficiently is really up to the player. The 20 seconds is a lot of time, but it's also not a lot of time. It will help you get maybe last second hits, but Devotee's Amulet gives you so much more than just last second hits. It will not only counter the time it takes to go to a pool, pick it up, and go back, it will allow you to control an area that much easier because you have an 80-second ranged component to your lethality. And what that really means is you're able to defend areas so much easier for a much longer period of time. And if they cleanse, well, you're just that much stronger. There are times where the extra duration may hurt you. In cases of everyone cleansing and you need somebody sick, and you still have a power, that's a bit unfortunate, right? Your lethality, however, isn't just nullified when they cleanse. You have pools available. Certain maps may be not in your favor with corrupt pools or even pool spawns themselves. But at the end of the day, if a survivor cleanses, it's a bonus for you. And if they keep cleansing, more bonuses for you. You may fall behind if they do cleanse. However, Devotee's Amulet will just allow you to play, for example, a clown with a gun. But again, it does depend on your efficiency. And this is a bit of a training wheel add-on as well. By giving you the extra duration, it allows you to make more mistakes in chase. And that's not a bad thing to run this add-on. I'm not saying or insinuating that. It just allows you to make more mistakes because you have more time. And that's okay. I definitely would use this add-on more because I definitely go more bonkers. Make more mistakes because I can get away with it. That's what this add-on does great, is allowing you to get away with misses. And there are no real perk synergies or anti-synergies with this. You can consider, I guess, Dead Hard, for example, in its current iteration being a counter, but that's just a corrupt purge counter. And patience. Having patience is key. Side note. Anyways. All in all, Devotee's Amulet is really good. It is really nice to have. And I know training wheels might not be the right word. It just allows you to make more mistakes without being punished. 60 seconds will fly by if you have your power, just like 80 seconds will. However, an extra 20-second buffer range is noticeable. So coming up next, we have Severed Toe. This is a very rare add-on that increases the infection rate of survivors by 50%. And the math behind this is anything a survivor can interact with, whether it's a totem, window, gen, or healing. That infection rate will be increased by 50%. There is a side note here. I believe it affects survivors running. I could be wrong. It could be placebo. I haven't actually put this to the test. However, if it does, this is a favorite add-on which we'll get into later. So, for the math part of this, survivors interacting with an object will be sick 2% per second. With this add-on, 3%. That doesn't sound like a lot, but it just makes them sick that much faster. And survivors running will be sick at 1% per second. And if this add-on works with running, it will be 1.5. With 100% being fully broken. So how would you use this add-on? It is straightforward. It is fire and forget. You vomit on everything survivors can interact with. If they touch it, Severed Toe will kick in on anything they interact with. And the thing with that is, it's all passive. You don't have to do anything with this add-on. And in my eyes, there's no downside to this add-on, except if they're all fully infected. That's the only downside I can think of. But even then, that's not a downside if you start your snowball that much faster. It will all be a time crunch of when they get fully infected. And this add-on will just make them reach that point. There are no real synergies with perks or survivor perks for anti-synergies. There are, however, synergies with other add-ons, such as Hematite Seal, or Limestone Seal, or even Prayer Tablet Fragment, where the increased duration of infection is really handy. If a survivor is just waiting for the infection to wear off, it ultimately doesn't matter, because the second they get sick is the second that that severed toe will kick in. So as a closing thought, this add-on is extremely handy. Or yes, footy, because it's a toe. I'm sorry. This add-on is really nice. It is a huge quality of life to make survivors sick to fully infected that much faster. And there is no downside. Right, the only weakness or downside or con is that when they're all infected and they don't cleanse. But getting them to that point is good when you do it 50% faster. And there is a counterpoint that maybe the other add-ons we'll get into later could also be good, but this is a global feature in that match. Any object you infect, 50% infection rate for survivors if they get sick. No downsides. You will always get value from severed toe with you realizing it or not. Coming up, we have a Emetic, a very rare add-on that will increase the velocity speed of your vomit projectiles by 10%. So let's get into the math of Plague's projectiles and Emetic speeds. So, Plague, when she is vomiting, will move at 4.4. And this is important because this will add onto your projectile speed. And your projectile speed is 10.55 meters a second. So with moving forward in a straight line, your projectiles will be moving at roughly 15 meters a second. And Emetic, I believe, will take the base speed, you not moving, at 10.55, and be 10% of that instead. So that would be, roughly 1.5. We add that on, we get a near 16 meter forward momentum speed. I can't do math. This is just me putting this out there. I'm following someone else's math. So how do we use this add-on? So for starters, it doesn't really do anything. The 10% speed doesn't really change anything except your maximum range. However, this does mean your projectiles will connect 10% faster. Whether the servers will validate the projectile hits or not, they will connect on your screen 10% faster. And there's no real difference in that regard. There are other ways to use this add-on, and that is through trick shots, inefficient shots, where since the projectile follows your momentum, this extra 10% will unlock extra capabilities, so to say, where you would get hits you otherwise would not. A case I can think of is Dead Dog Saloon. You will be able to consistently hit the second floor saloon or the gallows from the street level fairly easy at most angles, whereas without this add-on, you're going to have to be in a specific spot aiming in a specific way, and then sending your momentum in a certain way. Emetic will just remove that, and that is where the trick shot component comes in handy, is the momentum difference. Sending your shot into a different way. It's all another form of muscle memory, and it's definitely for more advanced users to use this add-on. And that's really just my final thoughts of this add-on, is that it's fun to use. However, for actual practical uses, it is very limited. It will allow you to get more max range shots, but that's not really important. Because doing max range infection is going to be hard anyway. Survivors will have just that much more time to dodge, whereas you could just be closing the distance anyway by not winding up, moving, shooting. They dodge, you're zigzagging all over the place, or everything's everywhere. It's chaos, it's mayhem. But doing those shots, like I said, is not efficient. And that's not the purpose of this add-on, is to do max range, or to increase your maximum range. In my eyes, this is used for the trick shot potential, and not connecting your projectiles faster, as funny as it sounds. So coming up for the last very rare add-ons, we have Worship Tablet. Now, Worship Tablet does two things. It will increase your ingestion speed by 100%, as well as increase your movement speed while holding Corrupt Purge by 4.5. So what does this mean? So your ingestion speed is 1 second. You will cut that in half through 100%, making it 0.5. Extremely noticeable, but moving on. Increasing your movement speed by 4.5% while holding Corrupt Purge, which means, as we said in the Vile Emetic section, is that you move at 4.4 while holding and vomiting. This will only increase your holding speed, your bar at 100% charge. So this will be 4.5% of your total movement speed, right? You will be moving at near 4.6. I can't do math, but this makes you pretty much 115 again, while holding Corrupt Purge. So that is the key point here of how to use this add-on. Is not the first point. The first point is a quality of life. The second point, increasing your movement speed while at full charge, is noticeable. This will allow you to round corners much faster, as well as remove the component of survivors reacting because you're moving that much faster. It limits the amount of reaction time, but ultimately that part doesn't really matter. It's mostly that you can round corners faster, which is a strength and a weakness. You might round a corner too fast. You might run into the pallet 4.5% faster and get stunned and lose your power. But in the same scenario, you might also round the corner and get a hit before that pallet. It's a case-by-case situation of when this add-on would be useful. It's not like a set in stone 100% value. It's all unique. In my eyes, my personal opinion, I don't use this add-on because of that very reason. It's not consistent for me to be like, yeah, okay, I'd get a hit here. Because movement speed is a touchy subject in DBD. Moving faster, moving slower is noticeable, and it will mess up your muscle memory. And that is an issue with like Play With Your Food, for example, is you don't know if you can get a hit that much faster, but you will know if you got the hit that much faster because of it, right? That is how I feel with Worship Tablet, is you will know once you get value, but you don't know if you would without it. That makes sense. But closing thought, it's a good add-on. It's a huge quality of life if they cleanse and you can consistently pick up pools. If you can't, you're kind of wasting it. I don't want to say wasting an add-on slot for it, but if they don't cleanse until the end game, you only have one pool and you kind of have to make that work. So coming up for the rare add-ons, we have Ashen Apple. And this will increase the amount of pools in a trial from 6 to 7, and the amount of corrupt pools you have by 1 to 2. So 2 of the 7 pools from the beginning will be corrupt, your spicy Kool-Aid. And this is really nice. The extra pool in the trial altogether isn't important. That's just a side note. It doesn't really do anything. If they keep cleansing, then you have 1 extra pool for buffer range, but you should be picking up your pools for the most part. The 1 extra pool in the trial doesn't do anything. But anyway, how do you use an apple is entirely dependent on the user. Either apple add-on here, because they work in the exact same function. So we're going to put them both here, because we're talking about the same thing here. How you use them is entirely up to you. You can either use this for an aggressive snowball potential play, or picking up this for a chase to shut down that chase, picking up a pool to be aggressive and defend an area. Force them out of this area because you don't want them in shack doing your gen, for example. Just a few cases. So what that means is that you would be able to pick up that pool and get away with it because you have one extra. You're able to make the mistake of picking up a pool and not getting any value from it because you have another one available. The pressure is relieved from you. You are able to be more inefficient with your shots because you have 2 in total from the beginning. Of course, if there's people cleansing, then maybe an apple isn't the best add-on. But regardless, the potential an add-on like apple brings is through the roof. It is, of course, like I said, dependent on you and how you aim or how you make decisions with it. But the bottom line is you're able to make the decision of, oh, I can pick this up and it's fine because I have another apple or another corrupt pool. And whatever the situation may call for, your potential is increased with an apple, and that is really important for Plague, is the potential to do things. An apple in my eyes is the bread and butter for Plague, especially Plague players who like to use Corrupt Purge, by allowing you to play more frequently with your ranged component. That's pretty much it. There's nothing too advanced about this add-on, other than you just increase your lethality potential. Of course, you can pick up your 2 pools and not get value from either of them. I have done that many times, and it is a really bad feeling, but in most cases, you will learn something from that encounter. You will be able to be like, okay, well, I'm probably never going to do that again on this map or in this scenario. And that is what I have learned, is that apples are a good teaching tool because they allow you to make mistakes because you have another pool or 2 or more if they're cleansing. All in all, great add-on. So coming in next, we have Exorcism Amulet. This is a rare add-on that will increase the duration of your Corrupt Purge by 10 seconds, bringing the default 60 to 70. Now, as we said in Devotee's Amulet discussion, where it would counteract the time it takes to go to a pool, pick it up, and go back, and then give you some change, Exorcism Amulet doesn't give you that. It only counters the time it takes to go to, pick up, and go back, leaving you to be kind of holed into being more efficient in chase, whereas Devotee's Amulet allows you to be more wacky with your power, I guess. It allows you to make more mistakes. Exorcism doesn't. It's a quality of life add-on alone. You can add it with Devotees for 90 seconds of a power if you so choose, to be an absolute monster truck front flip of a ranged killer, but at the end of the day, 10 seconds alone won't be night or day. It's going to be straightforward. You might get a couple of last second shots, but those last second shots could probably be gotten earlier with a normal 60-second pool by being more efficient. That's what Corrupt Purge really boils down to, is being more efficient. You can have add-ons like the amulets to supplement you, but it is important to be efficient as you can without them. That will carry on for the whole reason of, oh, I can already win the game with 40 seconds of a power. Let's add on an extra double amulet gameplay and just go bananas wall to wall. That's really my closing thoughts of the Exorcism Amulet and somewhat Devotee's Amulet. They are nice. They are good. They just allow you to make more mistakes and be more inefficient, in quotes. That's not necessarily a bad thing. That's okay. It's okay to make mistakes, as long as you're having fun. So coming to a theater near you, Incensed Ointment, a rare add-on that whenever you pick up a corrupted pool of devotion, any and all survivors in your terror radius will scream. This will have some obvious synergies and anti-synergies with perks, such as Distressing for synergy and Tinkerer for anti-synergy if you're undetectable. You do not have a terror radius if you are undetectable, you have to remember. So keeping that in mind, if you want add-on value. And I want to iterate that point. If you want add-on value, I don't think this add-on is good for that. If you just have this equipped and you get value here or there, perfect. But I would never have this add-on equipped and just pick up random pools to force value. Because from there, if I don't get any screams, I'm going to be scrambling to look for a survivor to be efficient as possible with my corrupt purge. And in most cases, it would be extremely inefficient to just pick up a random pool without a goal in mind other than just trying to get ointment value. And that's the main takeaway here is this add-on will provide you passive information now and then. But just having this on and expecting value is not the way. You will probably get consistent value on 2-story indoor maps like the game or Midwich. However, relying on a map for add-on value, we're not playing Myers, so don't really need to do that, huh? So coming up, we have 2 add-ons. The effectiveness add-ons. Infected Emetic and Emetic Potion. These do the same thing, just with a 10% difference of 30 versus 40. Now, the math behind this is that each projectile will be 1.25% of the total infection bar. So, I'm not going to break down the math, but I think it comes down to an extremely insignificant number when it comes down to infection from 0 to 100. You will need accuracy for these add-ons to matter. And when you're shooting so many projectiles, accuracy is out the window, especially when we have server issues with validation on survivors getting hit with them. It's really hard to know if our projectiles actually connect. For anecdotal evidence, there have been many times where I infect, in quotes, a survivor, but they flail their arms and I look on the survivor HUD and they're not infected. And that happens quite a bit. So relying on these emetic add-ons is a bit rough. And it's hard for me to acknowledge that, like, oh yeah, I got this add-on value for sure. Because you can very well fully infect a survivor with the full charge bar. And this just means you don't need a full charge bar to infect, only a smaller amount. But when each individual projectile is increased by X amount, whether it's 30 or 40, remember 1.25, it is a very insignificant number in comparison to the grand scheme of things. Now, there is a counterpoint that like, oh, then Severed Toe wouldn't be good then, right? Well, these add-ons only work on Vile Purge, whereas Severed Toe works on a global infection rate, whether it's running, I think, or gen doing, totem doing, vaulting, whatever. So you would have a global usage or an individual projectile increase. And that's really like my only issue with these add-ons is that like, I don't know if I'm getting value with it. There's no like in-game math regarding this. I don't see how fast a survivor gets infected, either way with or without this add-on. Obviously, I could look at the blood point gain. By the way, side tip. When you infect survivors with Vile Purge, you will gain blood points. For each individual projectile that connects, you will gain blood points. Again, per projectile, you'll get like 1 blood point or something. So, you could technically game the system that way, but that is too much information when the blood point interval tick, I guess, is literally in an interval. You will only see you get X amount of blood points in X amount of period. It's not like a real-time update. It tries to be, but it's not. But complete tangent there. My closing thoughts on this add-on or these add-ons is that I'd rather just run Severed Toe. And if I were to use both of these, that would be a lot of value, but I just can't see myself using these to get consistent value, because the biggest thing being is that once they're fully infected, you won't get more value. Same thing could be said about Severed Toe, just this is an individual scale, whereas Severed Toe is a match-wide scale. I just rather have different add-ons. And this comes down to a little bit of a personal tier list for describing these add-ons, but the math just doesn't help its case. It's very mediocre. Rubbing oil. So, a rare add-on that will increase the charge rate of your Vile and Corrupt Purge by 50%. Your green and red puke. So the time it takes to go to 0% to 100% charge is 1.5 seconds. And if we increase that rate by 50%, it will only take a maximum 1 second to go to full charge. And there is a minimum threshold before you can puke. As of patch 5.4, I believe, is when they changed that. You had to reach 25% to puke. And the minimum to reach that with this add-on is a quarter of a second, right? 25% of 1. And then 25% of 1.5 is what? 0.375? So doing minimum shots is extremely fast regardless. However, the strength of this add-on is the huge quality of life you get from not needing to full charge for that long. It is a noticeable difference, and another strength is reducing the amount of time survivors have to react. A lot of survivors will dodge when they see you wind up, and if you wind up that much faster, they have that much less time to react. Again, it is noticeable for both sides that, oh, she got a lot of puke off in this very short amount of time. And that is the great thing about this add-on, is you get a lot of purge charge very fast. However, that is a downside too. In some more efficient scenarios, you do not want to be full charging. You want to be doing little spurts here and there and doing adjustments along the way. Doing a full charge will limit your capabilities of maneuvering. You are moving slower, but the big thing here is you don't want a full charge just to infect objects. This will increase your speed at which you do minimum infection charges, like you right-click or press the trigger to infect a generator or a locker really fast, and then you move on with your day. But you definitely don't want to hold on to it too long. That is where the tap comes in handy, because it will automatically fill to 25%. So that is a Ray tip for you, is that doing taps, just a simple power tap, is really good for rubbing oil, because it doesn't take that much time to full charge, let alone do a minimum charge. So just do minimum charges for infecting everything, and you can zip around the map very fast as you can go, to be honest. But this is really just a huge quality of life add-on. It does have chase potential with the whole mind game reaction speed, but at the same time, it's mostly for the charge rate quality of life. It is noticeable. It is day and night. So on tonight's menu, we have the Hematite Seal Special, as well as a Limestone Seal Appetizer. So let's get into what these do. So Hematite Seal will increase object infection duration by 30, whereas a Limestone will do it by 20. Generators or other objects will be infected for 40 seconds, and with these add-ons it will be either 60 or 70 seconds. And these are considered one and the same because they do the exact same thing, just with a different number. Same thing with the apples, same thing with the effectiveness add-ons. How to use these add-ons? I suggest using them individually. I say that because you don't really need the super long duration of both of these. You really only need one. And the reason for that being is, on most maps, you will be able to do circuits or patrols, starting from one gen, going around the map, infecting every object, and then ending back at the starting point. And that is what Hematite and Limestone Seal do really effectively, is increasing that window of being able to patrol without worry that the infection drops off. A lot of survivors will wait until the infection drops off before starting to work on a gen. It is actually a little absurd that they will do that. It makes sense, but at the same time, it is a little inefficient for them. So, What these add-ons do is increases your efficiency. Wow, we use this word a lot. So what this means by increasing your efficiency is that it allows you to do a wider patrol, a longer patrol without worry that your generators or windows or lockers are becoming uninfected. A minute is a long time in DBD, especially in the early game, whereas 40 seconds, it's only a 20-second difference, or 30 with Hematite Seal. It is a short amount of time. It really limits the amount of distance you can go without feeling like you need to go back to reinfect every object. And that's pretty much how to use either of these add-ons. Is it just allows you to have more room to make decisions. You can leave an area, oh, somebody just got infected, let me double back, or oh, it's just one person, let me continue my patrol. That's what it really boils down to, is your decision making is a little bit longer. You have time to think with these add-ons on what you feel like you need to do. It is a video game. It is up to you what you want to do. Alright, so we have another double set review of Potent Tincture and Healing Salve. So, Potent Tincture will decrease the cooldown of Vile and Corrupt Purge by 0.4, and Healing Salve will be 0.25. Again, same thing as a couple of add-ons before. These do the same thing, just with a different number. So let's get into the math. For starters, your cooldown while you are out of puke, so to say, is 1.5 before you can do any actions, whether that's a swing, a vault, gen kick, any normal interaction that isn't movement, you will have to wait 1.5 seconds. And with these add-ons, it is a night and day difference with them, especially both together. Bringing with both from 1.5 to 0.85, or with just Potent Tincture, 1.5 to 1.1. And that is noticeable, just with Potent Tincture alone. And that is my bread and butter is using Potent Tincture in a lot of different builds. This add-on will synergize with a lot of others, just because it's very flexible. It can fit anywhere and get value. You will notice that you get hits at windows, for example, much more frequently because a survivor will get fully infected. And you can just swing 0.4 seconds faster. And that almost half a second, that is almost the window of Dead Hard. Just to put that into reference, in case you know the Dead Hard endurance timer, it's half a second. Cooldown reduction is 0.4. And the unfortunate part about this too is it's a very rare occurrence, but survivors will be mashing their Dead Hard the second they get fully infected. And with a cooldown add-on, that just means you might swing into it that much faster, even though you are kind of making the right play with this by swinging as early as you can with less of a reaction time. But if they're mashing that button and they only realize they got sick a second later, chances are you might accidentally swing into it when you notice they got fully infected. But again, a very rare situation that has happened to me, and I still lie awake at night thinking about those moments. But anyway, the value of these add-ons comes from the quality of life you get by being able to wind down that much faster. It is a night and day difference. We've been saying this a lot with other add-ons, is that it's a night and day difference, but this truly is. Once you put one of these on, play a match, take them off, you will notice the difference. You'll notice that, oh, I gotta wait 1.5 seconds. And that is quite a substantial amount of time, especially when you want to kick a gen right then and there after infecting it, or vaulting right away, whatever it may be. A noticeable part would be when you try and infect a survivor over a pallet and then you want to break that pallet as soon as possible. That is when it's most noticeable for me without these add-ons. But those are all cases of where it's noticeable, and it is really apparent, and I can't iterate that enough, is that it's just, if I were to only run one add-on for the rest of DBD, it would be Potent Tincture, just because of the strength it has. It is amazing. So coming up on the headlines, right now we have a add-on that has quite a bit of negative reviews on Yelp. So let's go on to our ground reporters, Cringe Frog Raydell. Cringe Frog? Hi, Tom. Right now we're here with Prophylactic Amulet, a uncommon add-on that decreases the number of pools of devotion in the trial by 2. Now what this really means is it brings the default 6 to 4. You will still of course have your default 1 pool with this add-on. But Tom, let me tell you, this is a controversial add-on. The synergies this add-on has is pretty close to 0. You might get a value with it with an apple or something related, but unfortunately, Tom, this add-on, it's all too niche. It is really niche. This add-on, I can only count on one hand hypothetical situations where it would get value. Now, it might be a good training wheels add-on if you don't want to pick up your pools, for example, and let them constantly cleanse with, like, for example, survivors who don't want to be sick. That's where Prophylactic Amulet could be handy. That is one of the hypothetical situations, is that without, like, rambling for hours, this add-on is inefficiency for both sides. Maybe more for the killer, but it also potentially more for the survivor. It's all over the place. And in the tier list, we break down why, but for the most part, it is inefficient for both sides. For the survivor, going to the very limited pools and getting rid of a resource early on, or even at any point, is bad. But for the killer, this is inefficient because you're limiting the amount of pools you can potentially have, but also puts you on a time crunch if they constantly cleanse. As well as RNG spawns. You gotta remember, there's 1 of you and 4 of them. It only takes 1 survivor to run around the map and cleanse. And that's all they need in order to auto cleanse, to give you your power. This is just a very strange add-on that I personally don't even know how to use outside of hypothetical situations, which I would just get more value outside with other add-ons. This is just a purely hypothetical add-on that I can only imagine situations where this gets value outside of, like, endgame scenarios. Endgame scenarios, this becomes more noticeable by limiting the amount of pools survivors can cleanse with, right? At the end of the game, survivors will want to cleanse, or rather it's ingrained in their brain to cleanse, so they go do that. And with 2 less pools, they have to go quite a bit of distance, and you might be able to catch them. But for outside of those scenarios, the endgame scenarios, the situations from early till late game, before endgame collapse, I can only count on, like, 1 hand where a niche scenario can happen. We can take, for example, Swamp. Traditionally, our pools will be all over the place. And when I play on Swamp, I am banking on never picking up a pool because I'm assuming that 1 pool will be on the edge of the map, away from everything. Prophylactic Amulet will reduce the amount of pools, therefore kind of increasing the chance they will only be on the edge of the map, but also survivors going all the way over there and back is a huge inefficient time sink, right? That's just one of the cases. It's a very strange add-on that I don't really know how to describe other than if you don't want to pick up your pools ever, you can run this add-on, and if you get your power automatically, okay. Cool. They full cleanse, but chances are they might still have somebody fully infected, and you can still put out pressure with an auto cleanse pool. It's a weird add-on, inefficient for both sides. Anyways, let's go back to Tom in the newsroom. Tom? Thanks, Cringe Frog. Prophylactic Amulet is definitely, as I can see now, as a new upcoming... I'm done with this bit, by the way. Bye-bye. Olibnaum Incense, a common add-on that when a survivor cleanses at a fountain, their aura will be revealed to you for 4 seconds. This will be affected by Lethal Pursuer, of course, bringing it to 6. However, let's get into the add-on. How do we use this? It's all passive. It does things on its own. One of the things you can do with this is mental notes. We can take, for example, RPD, Raccoon City Police Department. A survivor cleanses upstairs. We see their aura. They run on downstairs. You have a rough idea of where they could have ended up. Whereas without this, you're guessing if they're upstairs or downstairs. And that's really what this add-on does, is it helps you acknowledge that, okay, a survivor could still be here, or could be over there, or could be going this way. Whereas before, it's like, okay, they could literally be anywhere. And Incense is great at just like Black Incense, eliminating the guesswork. Not a crazy add-on, it's a common add-on, and it does really well. An issue with it I can see is if you're in chase and somebody cleanses, you're going to have to divert your attention from the chase to not only acknowledge that somebody cleansed, but where they're going to know what to do with that information, right? You can obviously opt to ignore it, but the add-on would lose value then, right? So that's one of the issues that I have with this, is that if somebody cleanses in chase. But that's pretty much it. This is still a good add-on regardless. Not the best, not the worst, as we state in our tier list. Lastly, Prayer Tablet Fragment, a common add-on that is kind of weird. So, let's break it down. Vile Purge no longer affects survivors, increases the object infection duration by 40 seconds, increases infection gained from infected objects by 100%, and the devious blood point gain by 100%. So by the wording, this is similar to Padded Jaws on Trapper, or Speed Limiter on the Hillbilly or the Bubster. However, this is more than that, and let me explain. So the downfall of this add-on is that Vile Purge will no longer affect survivors, and that is quite substantial. However, you do actually gain net positive with this add-on in the early to mid game with case 2 and 3, where the object infection is increased to 80 seconds, and the rate at which survivors get sick by 100%. So, for some math, we already know about 40 plus 40. That's a wild addition there, let me tell you. But the actual math of infection rate being increased by 100%. So as we stated earlier with Severed Toe, survivors will get sick 2% per second. With this add-on, it'll be 4% a second, and that is extremely fast. Whereas it would take 50 seconds without this add-on to go from 0 to 100% infection while working on a gen. With Prayer Tablet Fragment, it'd only take 25 seconds. If two survivors hop on a gen at 0% at the same time, there is no way they can finish this in a normal scenario without getting fully infected. So we can use that to our advantage. If we know two survivors get sick roughly at the same time, we will have a rough idea of where they are. And that would be beneficial to, okay, we'll wait a couple of seconds, get them more sick, and then go chase them. A common downfall of this add-on is to chase people too early. You cannot infect survivors manually. You will need to wait for them to go their due course to get fully infected. There might come a time where you can't do anything to get them more sick other than just wait. And that's what this add-on comes down to, is that downfall is waiting. That could also be used to your benefit. Protecting gens is what this add-on boils down to, or an area of the map. You're able to secure area of the map by just existing, because some survivors may not want to deal with one health state, or the fear of being at one health state, right? All in all, a defensive add-on that is oriented to defensiveness. It has obvious weaknesses, and we'll get into the last weakness here, which makes me not like this add-on, is the end game. In the end game, the amount of objects you can infect that which survivors will interact with on occasion will be remaining pallets, windows, and the exit gates. They do not have any gens to do. So when they all cleanse, what do? You twiddle your thumbs. You're waiting for a survivor to get sick, or the chance they touch something to get sick, and that likelihood is pretty low. And there are plenty of times where you can recover endgame matches just because survivors have the potential of being at 1 health state. Other killers will have to deal with survivors healing and going in, and then with this add-on, you do as well, for the most part. So the obvious weaknesses is you might be waiting too long for survivors to get sick or fully infected, and that can be an issue for some. It is really good at controlling certain sides of the maps if you know how to, if you know how to apply pressure. But anyway, this video was mostly just the foundational breakdown of these add-ons. The tier list will be included in the playlist of what add-ons fit where, but for the most part, this is just the fundamentals of what they do, how to use them, how not to use them, situations where they are or are not useful. For the most part, with some interjections of personal opinions. This is all subjective. I would love to be corrected if anybody does know more than me. I am more than willing to accept that I'm wrong. So anyways, tangents aside, thanks for watching. I appreciate it, and I appreciate you. Hope you all have a wonderful night or day, depending on wherever you may be. Until next time. Bye-bye. Wait. There are a couple of synergies with Iridescent. Come here, kitty. God, jeez, am I calling a cat, dude? Okay, recording. I'm recording. My mic is not muted. So as a final thought, this is a really good add-on? What is the math behind this? I don't know, because I'm stupid and I didn't have this pulled up. I'm just staring at my screen. Mungus. A rare add-on that whenever you pick up a pool of play the Windows fail sound because my brain just farted. Rubbing oil. Different cosmetic. I forgot skull emoji. Ba ba ba. Anyways.